Welcome back to the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance. The draft has come and gone. It was a lot of fun. I loved that 8 minute clock. It just was going so quick in that first round. It was awesome. We want to talk about our teams. We want to talk about Minnesota. We want to talk about Philadelphia and their drafts. We have some thoughts, and there was a kind of a big trade that went down. But first, I got to get something off my chest. I bought this brand new calendar. I was so excited for it. It was just, I was pumped. It came in and I opened it, and for some reason, the fifth month was just ripped out of it. And I was completely dismayed.
All right, that one was good.
I thought you might appreciate that one.
That one, that's probably your best one since Luke on your face, on her face. That's probably, yeah.
Okay, I'll take it.
Maybe in a
I
couple
will
months from
take
now, we
it.
can we can do the top 10 jokes that Andrew shared of all time.
I think that's a good idea.
Depends on if we have enough, though. I don't know if we've got the 10 yet, Andrew.
I've definitely shared more than 10, but maybe not 10 that could make a list.
That one was pretty, that got a good laugh out of me.
That's good. That's good. I'm happy for that. I'm happy for that.
Oh my gosh. Such a goofball.
Okay.
All righty.
Where
Well,
do we
should
want to
we?
begin?
That's a great question. I mean, probably the first round's a great place to start. How are we feeling as far as for the top end of
Okay.
things?
We want to go round by round, just kind of like tag team it.
Yeah. I mean, I uh I was I guess giving slight NFL observation, but tying to our teams. I
Sure.
was somewhat surprised how things fell. The wide receivers went Tate went early. And so that made me think, oh, maybe this is
Hmm.
going to look a little different than what I thought. Like maybe it's going to play out differently. But the draft just kind of went through weird moments of like, it was offensive linemen and you had the Ty Simpson pick. And so I thought
Hmm.
it was interesting because to me, for the Vikings, it played out really well that Banks fell all the way to them.
Hmm.
I didn't think he was going to get there. I thought he would go earlier. Did you think differently?
Um, well, I didn't know that they were going to just stick and pick at 18 and pick a D tackle. I knew they would eventually select one or two of them, and we'll get into that. But at 18, I didn't think that Banks was on the radar at that pick. Um, and to go deeper into that, something that I wanted to get off my chest on this. During the time of the pick, there were a lot of Vikings fans that were kind of up in arms and upset that we just took and pick Banks at 18 when all mocks around the world were having him as a second round grade because of his foot injury. And I can get into that later. But I just wanted to say it's it's kind of frustrating to me when people complain and argue, why didn't you take a trade down? Why didn't you take it? And the example was the Eagles trade up with the Cowboys at 20. Everyone's saying, why didn't you guys take that at 18? They were calling. You don't know that they were because 23 to 18 is more expensive than 23 to 20. So the Eagles might have saying, let's wait till 19, let's wait to 20. Okay, now let's make our move. And then lo and behold, a couple days ago, I think Brzezinski was doing some kind of podium interview of some sort with the media, and he openly said that no one was calling. They had no phone calls. And that's exactly what I was thinking. Now, could you be aggressive and call people and say, hey, what do you want for 18? Possibly, but with 8 minutes on the clock, don't really have that much time. So them sticking and picking, I get it. I didn't expect Caleb Banks, but I think that has potential to be fantastic. Now, his foot injuries is a little concerning, a little alarming, but looking at the history and listening to like real doctors and real foot doctors, it's not something that should be concerning. It's going to be completely healed, and there's no reason to think that it's going to get injured again because his foot injuries were different. It was like the fifth metatarsal and then the fourth metatarsal. So it wasn't a re-injury of the same exact bone. It was a different bone, and he did the combine with it broken. That's something else that you got to think is amazing. A 330 pound man with a broken foot, and he's running the combine drills, and he ran pretty well. He probably would have been better if he didn't have his foot injury. So that's he has the potential to be awesome, but that foot injury is a little concerning. From doctors and people looking into it, it shouldn't have any kind of repercussions or any kind of re-injury risk. He should be good to go. Now, the thing of all these, draft experts saying this was a reach, okay, in your opinion, maybe. We'll just have to see how it plays out. He, from everyone's perspective, is the best D tackle in this draft. And he would have been a top 10-ish, maybe like 7, 8 pick if he didn't have any foot injuries. So with potential, it was a great value pick. Little risk in it, which was, surprising that Brzezinski went with a risky pick with his first pick, but their doctors cleared him. They liked it. They said pick him. And I'm curious though if he was number one on their board, or if maybe sneakily, maybe Sadiq was number one on their board. I'm kind of curious about that. I don't have
Hmm.
any insights or anything, but I'm kind of curious because he was the only one that went above them that I'm thinking, ooh, they might have wanted him instead because Caleb Downs wasn't making it there, of course. Jordan Tyson wasn't making it there, of course. But Sadiq was close. And I'm just curious, if Sadiq was there at 18, would we have picked him? I don't know. But overall, I am a fan of the pick at 18 with Caleb Banks. I like it. It's a little risky, but I think the potential is enormous. And we had a huge, huge hole at D line, which we addressed again, and I love it. We'll get there. But yeah, I wasn't surprised that Caleb Banks fell to there because of his foot injuries. I was just slightly surprised that at 18 when you said let's just do it, but I am not upset with the pick. I like the pick.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm a little surprised that people would be upset about it. I think it's a fine pick. The problem
Hmm
is you play what you're dealt. Like you,
hmm
you can't do anything else. So like now switching over to the Eagles side, when the Eagles were getting ready to pick, I watched the board really closely,
hmm
except for wide receiver. And that's because wide receiver was just not on my radar. So I went into our pick thinking, man, like this did not work out well for us. Because I looked at it and I thought Monroe Freeling was someone we would potentially be interested in. Blake
Yep, he
Miller
went at
was on the
19.
radar, but to be honest, I didn't like the Blake Miller pick by the Lions.
I kind
That
of
to
agree.
me,
I kind of agree.
and again, I'm trying to just look from the Eagles standpoint, right? Like, Caden Proctor
hmm
was the only one, but I refuse to think that this was a guy the Eagles should trade up for. I did not think it
hmm
was worth it. I did not think it was worth the value. I don't think he has. I think Caden Proctor is a B minus potential offensive lineman, maybe B plus. I don't think he's going to be an A plus player. That's projecting. Could be wrong.
Yeah, kind of like a floor guy, but not a ceiling guy.
Yeah, and that's just to me when you're drafting the first round, you don't draft lower.
hmm
You're
you
you're setting
don't.
yourself low.
Yeah, don't be
Um,
extremely safe. You gotta kind of shoot for the stars, kind of thing.
and then Spencer Fenno and Francis Mauigoa went right back to back. Those are the only two offensive tackles that I was like, man, I'd be excited if the Eagles got them.
hmm
I think they have potential. Um, but they didn't fall. So
hmm
anyway, going back to the Eagles, when they traded up, I was miffed because I'm like, what are we doing? I don't know who we could be going for. Like, I'm serious, Andrew. I totally had marked off wide
hmm
receiver on my list. So I'm like, did we seriously just trade up for probably an offensive lineman now that's not first round worthy? Or did we just trade up for an edge? I guess edge makes sense. By the way,
Malachi
this
Lawrence
is
was there, so that would have been okay.
well, the part that I kept hearing was Keldrick Falk. I don't know. And I kept hearing this over and over again. Keldrick
hmm
Falk, Keldrick Falk. And I'm like, no, this guy is not a first round pick. And being drafted at 31 to me seems to indicate, yeah, no, he's not a first round pick. The only reason why the Titans traded up for Falk is they wanted the 5 year
Hmm.
agreement. So that's fine. If you want the fifth year option, good for you.
Yeah.
But he's not a true um,
Yeah.
first
He's a
round
little
talent.
raw. He's a little raw. He needs some molding, but he could be something. But right out the gate for year one, probably not so much.
To me, if you're picking in anywhere 1 to 20, you really need to draft for,
Hmm.
like, not just potential, but like what you could do for the team.
Yeah, pretty much immediately.
And so I guess I should temper that, right? It's like you look at the Blake Miller pick, right? I just don't see what you're getting now, and I don't see what you're getting later. I
Hmm.
guess it's okay. It fills a hole, but
Yeah, it's
how
kind of a
much is it
safe
filling
pick.
that hole? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That's I think what I'm looking for. It's a safe
yeah.
pick, and
Hmm.
so I'm sorry, Lions fans. I will quit beating up on your team now. Um,
Oh no, keep
I
doing it. I'm loving this.
Okay, so now going over to the Eagles standpoint,
Hmm.
I was surprised by the value. I did not see us trading two fourth round picks in order to move up. But
That's a
then
great value. You move up three spots and you only lose two fours. I think that was a great value, in my
I
opinion.
feel like I feel like that's like on the edge of one third, one four. I feel like it's close, but I'm not going to complain. Again,
Hmm.
I don't think it's awful. And then you have the context of the fact that the Steelers
That was
were,
hilarious.
dude, the Steelers are so
Oh,
mad. They are
yeah.
so mad at it. The part that I don't understand though is so the Cowboys a few years ago, I think this was 2021, maybe it was 2020, drafted or had the chance to draft Devontae Smith. Didn't make any sense for them. So they trade back with the Eagles. The Eagles take Devontae Smith. He becomes a really important part of the Eagles offense.
Hmm.
Have they done the same thing twice? I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think Jerry Jones openly admitted he doesn't mind trading within his division. Um, but going back to the Steelers thing for me, why do you call a player you're going to draft before you're on the clock? That doesn't make sense. The other team is on the clock. Now, sure, do you expect the Cowboys to draft a receiver at that pick? Probably not. But this is the draft, man. Do not call the player you're going to draft until you are on the clock. Come on, Steelers. Learn a lesson here. Maybe they did because Howie's like, hold on, hold my beer. Let me make a call real quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who their assistant GM is from the Eagles. Um, I think it's Andy Weidel. And I think to me that was what tipped the hat. I think that Howie Roseman
Mm,
knows Andy's tendencies, and I think he was a big part of the Steelers' decision to choose to go after Kyle Lemon. But anyway, all that to say, I really like this pick. I
hmm.
really, really like it. It tells us what I didn't want to know, but the bottom
Yeah.
line is it's not Howie's job to be a peacock and bury his head, or not a peacock, an ostrich, excuse me,
Hmm.
and bury his head in the ground. His job is to prepare the team and put it in the best position possible. I mean, um, I really thought that it worked out well for him. That um, that the Eagles able to get him, and I do think there's a world where the Cowboys once again regret trading with the Eagles. I am really just surprised. I don't know. I don't know what they were doing. Um,
Hmm.
but that's fine. We'll take him. Thank you very much for your assistance. We appreciate it. I guess if they feel like that the fifth round or the two fourth round picks gets the value they need, then awesome. Um, but yeah, so for round one, I give this like an A minus move. Um, you had to give us some draft value, so I think you can't get if we're talking process, the
Hmm.
process of knowing that you had someone you had to jump, you got the guy you wanted, I think the Eagles were, in my opinion, down to Mekhi Lemon. That was the only one on the board that they thought was worth it. And if they stayed in the spot for anyone else, it would have been a disappointment. That's my
They
opinion.
probably would have traded out if they didn't make the move to trade up and they stayed at 23 and there was just whatever was left was there. Because if you notice, it was like domino effect. Everybody was bailing around like the 25, 26 area. Like I think after the Bears at 25, everyone was just bailing out, like trade out, trade out. I think the Bills traded out 3 times of the first round because the
They
value
just didn't
just
get the value.
wasn't there. Yeah, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, let's just pick up another pick later. And yeah, I mean, every team just bailed after like pick 25 or somewhere in there. So I think the Eagles might have done that. Or you were talking about safety might have been a need. Would you guys have stayed at 23 and picked Thieneman? Because he went to the Bears at 25. The value there
I
would have
think
been okay.
the value would have been okay, but I think that the part that was telling this offseason is if we're not willing to keep Reed Blankenship on a modest extension, we don't value the position. I think that was the
Yeah.
most telling part of the offseason with safety. And to be honest, I think it's fair because you have Cooper DeJean, and he's the third cornerback on the team technically right now. And the role he plays as a slot corner. So he needs to be able to provide that duality of playing slot
Hmm.
corner and safety. So that means we don't need to prioritize safety as much because you should only need another safety, let's say 40% of the time, because the slot corner role is becoming a 50 to 60% role.
Hmm.
So I don't think you could justify it. I think it's Mekhi Lemon has the chance to play every down on offense this year. Potential. I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he's going to be this amazing guy, but he has the potential. And if you've drafted someone as a safety, I don't think that's the case. Um,
Hmm.
the only way I would have said would have been still an acceptable win is if we had traded down to like 28 and drafted Omar Cooper. I do have to say on the Bills' part, I understand the desire to trade back, but not drafting Omar Cooper seemed like a dumb decision to me. That's my opinion. But I think they needed more wide receiver help, and I disagree with going with edge. I know the edge is an issue, but your wide receiver core is still an issue. Getting DJ Moore does not solve that problem.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe they just didn't like Omar Cooper Jr. I don't know. I mean, to me, Denzel Boston's a better prospect than Cooper was, and he was on the board too. So he went
I
at
don't know.
39 to the Browns. I think the Browns had a great first 4 picks. I give them credit. They did a great job.
I still think that Omar Cooper would have been just fine. You
Oh yeah,
can't
for sure.
leave you can't leave the first 2 rounds without dressing wide receiver. I know the defense
Hmm.
is a problem, but offense is a bigger problem for the Bills. I would happily stand by that. Offense is still a bigger problem for us. And they did not address that, which is weird. I don't get that. So
There are still some guys out there as far as receivers go. Hey, maybe Stephon Diggs comes back.
that would be weird.
That'd be crazy.
And to be fair, the Buffalo Bills did draft a fourth round pick wide receiver. Anyway, I know we're meant to focus on our team, so I'll stop. I just
You're good.
it's hard for me to watch teams. The one I have loved, I don't know if you've seen this, but the 49ers have taken so much heat for their draft.
Hmm.
So much
Hmm.
heat.
Them and the
Um,
Rams. I think the NFC West had some terrible drafts. I mean, the Cardinals picking Jeremiah Love at 3, that didn't make much sense. And then the Rams taking Ty Simpson at what 13 was horrible. And the 49ers had one of the worst draft, probably the worst draft as far as grades go in this draft. And the Seahawks had like 5 picks and they took a running back in the first round that was probably going to be there in the second round. So the NFC West had a tough draft
I think though for the to defend the Seahawks, they were backed into a tough spot
for sure. They didn't have many
because
options.
and you just watched 6 trades happen in front of you,
Hmm.
which was ultimately the league saying we're cutting you
Hmm.
as a whole. And I think there's a little bit of no one wants to trade the Super Bowl champ. There's resentment. You won. We
Sure.
don't care about you. We don't
Sure.
want you to be back in the Super
Hmm.
Bowl. Um, yeah, I
But
def
ironically, Jadarian Price is comped to Kenneth Walker III. He's like a scheme fit, perfect scheme fit for them. And it's crazy that that was probably their whole offseason thought is, hey, we're not going to re-sign Ken Walker to a big deal. Let's just sign his replacement, who basically is him at a younger age.
I mean, I see that to some degree. Here's one problem though. Kenneth Walker, even in college, was running back one. That's not Price.
That is very true.
And you just drafted someone in the first round that was RB2. I don't understand why this wasn't talked about more. To me, that's a big problem. Are you really ready to be the workhorse?
Hmm.
Maybe you could argue that they're fresh, they aren't taking as much of a beating, but that to me is a problem. And
Hmm.
we'll see how it plays out. But I stand by it, man. Kenneth Walker did not sign for a bad contract. The Chiefs were smart. The league was
Yep.
dumb. I still cannot believe the league let Kenneth Walker go to the Chiefs. I mean, people were paying
Hmm.
massive prices for defensive ends and linebackers
Hmm.
and offensive linemen, but Kenneth Walker, I think he barely got 14 million. I mean, that's still a good value compared to the rest of the league. Wide receivers, I
Yep.
mean, the wide receiver money out there was crazy dumb. I mean, we looked at Naylor and what he got from the Raiders and thought that was a big overpay, but
Yep.
okay.
For wide receiver three with potential of wide receiver two.
To me, it's just silly. I don't understand
Hmm.
some of the thought process. Um, if I was the Seahawks, man, trade Sam Darnold and keep Kenneth Walker because Sam Darnold is not your QB of the future. He is your Trent Dilfer. Thank you, Trent Dilfer, for leading us to the Super Bowl, but
Hmm.
we're going to turn the page to someone else. I don't get it. Completely miffed. But
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he was along for the ride. He wasn't the reason why they won. He won the Rams game in the regular season. Got to give him credit for that.
and
But
the Chiefs and
outside
the
of,
championship game, he did help with the championship game. He
yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah, he had a fair game there. Yeah, but the rest of the season was hit and miss. It was the defense and the run game that carried him.
Yeah. Well, should we go to our observations of the second round?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, let's go right off the bat with the 49ers taking a third or fourth round receiver at pick 33. And the Shad's dribbling. Now, the reason why I say he's like a third or fourth round receiver is because Minnesota was scouting him, had them in their building for their 30 one of their 30 visits, and it was all talked about throughout the offseason that our pick 97 made some sense, but we still thought that might have been a reach at pick 97 for dribbling. We thought we need to get in the fourth round to get Stribling because we had other needs and it wouldn't have made sense value wise. But if we would have picked Stribling at 97, I don't think any Vikings fan would have been up in arms. We'd be like, okay, I can see it. There's value there. But to pick him at 33, man, when there was Denzel Boston on the board, when there was, I mean, Skylar Bell, like you just said, the fourth round pick that the Bills made, I would probably have picked Skylar Bell over DeJoun's dribbling, but 49ers see something in him. Maybe we're all missing something, but that seemed like a huge reach just right out the gate. Day two, first pick of day two. That was wild.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've got much more I can say there, Andrew. I think I'd probably put that move as far as equally puzzling as I would the Jeremiah Love move. I just
Hmm.
I don't see what they're seeing. I don't I mean the Cardinals running back room the way it is right now, I think they
It's
re-signed James
packed.
Conner and then you have
Yes,
Tyler
they
Algier.
picked up Algier. Yes, it is packed. They still have Trey Benson on that team. He's a
Oh,
fine
that's
running
right.
back.
Yeah.
And so a little side rant that we'll get back to it, but um, been paying attention to like fantasy analysts and all these guys are going crazy that Jeremiah Love's going to be the best running back rookie pick, and everyone's wanting to pick him high in the first. I'm like, why? I am not going to be in fantasy. I'm not going to be drafting Jeremiah Love. I don't think I'm drafting at all because if his value in the aggregate looks like a first, second round pick, you guys can have him because he's going to a bad team with a bad
Yeah.
O line, crowded running
Yes.
back room. He the best running back on that team? Most likely. I'm not going to argue that. He is a fantastic talent. But how is he going to get all the touches to value a first round pick when James Conner is a huge locker room guy, just re-signed? He's probably going to be their 1A. I'm just going to say it. Connor's probably their 1A. Algiers probably like their third down blocking guy or goal line guy. And then Jeremiah Love's going to be their pass catching back. That's probably how it's going to be. And everyone's wanting to pick Jeremiah Love a pass catching scat back for a team this year. Now,
Hmm.
Dynasty, absolutely. He's going to be awesome. But for this year, it just didn't make sense. Didn't make sense. Okay, rant over. We can move on.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see if the 49ers prove us right. But
Yep.
overall, looking at what's been shared about John Lynch's draft grades, it's been rough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not been the best sledding. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like here's another example is why did the 49ers not pick an offensive lineman? To me, someone like Caleb Lomu would have been just fine because you've got to
Mm-hmm.
replace um oh man, why am I forgetting his name? Um just re-signed a contract with the 49ers.
Oh, yeah, the 40-year-old.
Trent Williams.
Yeah, I was gonna
Trent
say
Williams.
Peters, but it wasn't Peters. That's the Eagle.
And Trent Williams would be offended. He's 38 years old coming, or about to be 38 years old. So
My bad.
that to me was just surprising. So uh,
Yeah,
don't. Anyway, sorry. We can keep going.
yeah. I'll just off the bat, one of my favorite picks, and I already mentioned it, was Denzel Boston to the Browns. I think that was a steal. I thought he should have been a first round wide receiver. They got him at 39, and I'm just gonna give a shout out to the Browns. They had a great draft. They had a great draft. They picked one of the
Did you
best O
just give him a
linemen.
shout out?
I know,
Wow.
right? I know, but just the draft. I'm not talking about off-season moves and their whole Deshaun Watson debacle, but just this draft, got to give them a shout out because they picked perhaps the best tackle in the draft. Then they went and got two really good receivers in Concepcion and Boston. Concepcion will be the slot guy. Boston's going to be their outside guy with Jerry Jeudy. That's a pretty good like triple threat receiving core right there. And then in the third round, which we'll get to, they went and picked Emmanuel Manil Warren, who everyone thought was a first round pick. So
He was a
great
second
safety
round pick.
there. He was second. Okay, bottom of second
Yeah.
round. So bottom of second
Yeah.
round. I knew it was the bottom somewhere. Um, but still, that was also great value. So they are shoring up some stuff. They just need to find their quarterback, which I know they have a Pro Bowl quarterback on their team, but they're probably going to be looking at the draft next year for their
Two
quarterback.
Pro Bowl quarterbacks, Andrew.
That's fair. That's fair. I will say though, they did draft that really
Taylor
athletic
Green.
quarterback in this. Yeah, Taylor Green in the sixth round. It's interesting. I don't think they have the scouts and the team to develop that, but that was interesting. But yeah, Denzel Boston was probably one of my favorite picks in this second round, outside of my team because I'll get to that. But
Yeah, just go ahead and
that
dig
pick
into it,
that
Andrew.
okay
Tell us about your
okay
guy.
so um a lot of draft experts are kind of meh with the pick. They didn't say it was a reach, but they didn't say it was like one of their best values that they thought. But Jake Allday, man, oh, he is phenomenal. He is so versatile. If you look at his snaps per position, he's played on the D line, he's played on edge, he's played on outside linebacker, and he's played in slot corner as a 6'3", 250-pound linebacker. He's played slot corner. He can do it all. So Brian Flores just a gadget player that he can put everywhere. And everyone's thinking, which we'll get to the trade that almost happened right after you guys drafted, but everyone's thinking, man, we didn't need an edge rusher after Grenard. What are we going to do? Gallday's going to be everywhere. He's going to be playing outside linebacker on some snaps. He's going to play an edge rusher on some snaps because he is so versatile. I love the pick. His athleticism is off the charts, and he hasn't even played linebacker that long. I think he started off as a quarterback, and then he got transferred over to an edge rusher at his previous stint. I don't know where he was before Cincinnati, I forgot. But then at Cincinnati, they put him at outside linebacker, quote unquote, but they played him everywhere. He is just a throw him anywhere you need and he will excel kind of a player. Just, bring your lunch pail. It's going to be a battle. I loved that pick. Um, I personally thought that we were going to go wide receiver or maybe even corner there, but with Jake Alday, I was like, okay, I like that. And we did a little trade down because we're at 49, and the Panthers traded up, and we got like a pick swap basically. We didn't gain a pick, but we gained like 40 spots in the fifth round, which I think, okay, that's good value. Go down 2 spots, gain 40 spots. I like it, and we still got our guy in Galde. So, my opinion, that was my favorite draft pick for the Vikings. This whole entire process was
Hmm.
Galde because of his versatility and Brian Flores being our DC. He is going to use him everywhere. You're going to see. I'm not sure what number he's going to be, but you're going to see his number everywhere. It's going to be awesome. I love that pick. That was probably my favorite pick for the Vikings. Was that Galde pick?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good pick. And Golday was at Central Arkansas.
Okay, gotcha. Central Arkansas. Yeah, he was an edge rusher there, I think, which
Yeah,
is
and then going
crazy.
over to Cincinnati would be a great school to go to. And yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, definitely some upside. So for the Eagles, I loved the value of Eli Stowers at
Yeah.
where they got him. I think that they got
Hmm.
him at a good spot. The consensus frustration for people, and it's understandable, is this isn't a guy that has great blocking history, which is disappointing. We needed it we needed more to help out with having a better running scheme
Hmm.
um, from our tight end or blocking from our tight ends. But I liked what Harry Roseman said after the draft. He said, if you continue to look at people's flaws that you're thinking about drafting, you'll talk yourself out of drafting them and make your team worse.
Yeah.
You need to
Very good
focus
point.
on what they can bring to the team and just accept the fact that sometimes a draft isn't going to necessarily match up, value for value, what you're looking for, but that doesn't mean that
Hmm.
person or that player can't help your team. And so I agree with his analysis. As far as to get Eli Stowers, this to me was awesome because it didn't require a trade back.
Hmm.
Eli Stowers on many boards was considered to be a high round two pick, low round one pick, depending on how boards fell. And to get him at the back end of the second round is great positioning for the Eagles. I think this is going to work out really well for him. I really like the potential he has. Um, the fact the Eagles were able to get Lemon and Stowers softens the fact for me that we didn't get Sadiq. I do think Sadiq is far and away the best tight end and would have helped our team tremendously. But the
Yeah.
but the combo of Lemon and
Combo.
Stowers is better than getting Sadiq by himself. And I think that we probably would have had to accept that if we went with Sadiq, because we probably would have had to give up a third, maybe a sixth, and that would have been tremendous value that we would have to reshake the board and
Hmm.
reprioritize in how we're doing things. So I really like the pick. I think it's a good one. I was worried we were going to go into the season without addressing the tight end position, which we didn't.
Hmm.
That's good. Um, I think that Dallas Goedert's on the tail end. He's gotten better at some things, but like run blocking, for example, has been painful. I've said it many, many times with the 49ers game, he got pancaked really bad because of how he had gotten
Yeah.
himself in a stance. And not only that, but his guy tackled Saquon Barkley. So it was like really bad. Um, but I liked the pick. I think it was really, really good. I do want to say, who was I looking at here? Avion Terrell going to the
Hmm.
Falcons. I liked that pick.
The Terrell brothers. They're gonna shut receivers down.
I guess. I thought that was really good value. Um,
Hmm.
I didn't mention this for round one, but I am just going to say it. I don't love that the Giants stayed in pick and got Francis Mauigoa. I think Francis Mauigoa is a good player, but now he will forever be tied to Dexter Lawrence. That will be the comparison. Who does better? And I think that
Hmm.
that is a tall hill for him to have to climb. So I wish the Giants luck. Hopefully that guy is what they think he is. But it really sucks that you just put that rookie in a position where he will forever be tied to Dexter Lawrence. Because that's what it is. It's a straight up trade. You got nothing else. And I think there's genius in trying to get more than one draft pick because
Hmm.
it maximizes and spreads out and doesn't put as much pressure on the person you drafted. Now it's all on Francis. If he doesn't pan out, Giants fans will be upset. What did we trade Lawrence for to get a guy that's not living up to the potential? So That's going to be interesting to watch.
In the one part in the first round I didn't mention was that the Buccaneers drafting Reuben Bain Jr. was just phenomenal value. They he fell possibly because of that off-field stuff that
I think so.
came up again, which I think is silly because everyone already knew about it. It was like over a year old, but a lot of people had David Bailey as the best pass rusher. He went second overall, but not everyone. There was a good amount of people out there that had Reuben Bay Jr. as the best pass rusher in this draft, and he goes 13 spots later with a huge gaping need the Buccaneers had at edge rusher, and they got possibly the best one. You can argue David Bailey's the best one, sure, but then Reuben Bay Jr. is the second best pass rusher, and he's very talented. The Buccaneers got to kind of steal there, and he gets to stay in town. He played at Miami. Now it just kind of drives an hour and goes to Tampa Bay.
That's very true. Yeah.
All right. So then, very shortly after the Eli Stowers pick, so this is one of two things for me. Either A, this trade was already consummated before the draft and it was agreed that we're going to announce it around this time, or B, both teams wanted to see how the second round went before they announced it. Because, for example, if Eagles at pick 54, there was an extremely great pass rusher that just landed there. Like just say Malachi Lawrence for some reason just happened to fall to 54. You guys probably pick him and don't do the trade. You're like, oh, never mind, guys. We're good. We're just gonna pick Malachi Lawrence here because he fell. Was that going to happen? Probably not. And I just saw the Cowboys picked him at 23. But I think those were the only two scenarios that it wasn't going to happen because I think the terms were already agreed to because it was so quick that it was announced and done. And personally, I think it was great value on both sides. I think it was one of those win-win kind of trades because you guys get a need at edge rusher, which we absolutely needed. You pay him not extremely high. It was a fine contract, 25 mil a year, basically 50 guaranteed, 4-year deal. It was fine. And then we get two third round picks, which I always said that we were looking at the about the value of a second round pick, and that's kind of what that is. Two third round picks. I know we threw in that seven because Howie's probably like, you got to throw in a seven, and then I'll say yes. He's probably wanting to kind of control the scenario, which
I'll
is
have a
fine.
thought on that seventh round pick later.
Oh, I so do I. I think it's probably the same player that we're thinking of. Um, but I think both sides kind of it was a win-win. The issue with Jonathan Grenard, there's two issues with that. One, he's injury prone. I think this is sixth or seventh year playing, and there's only 1 year where he's played over 80% of the games. And that was 2024 when he had 12 and a half sacks. He had a great year that year. Last year, I think he missed like 6 games, something like that. So he's had some injuries in his career, so he's not always available. And second is he kind of has a high missed tackle rate. Like if you look at his percentage, it's really high for edge rushers, which is kind of like, why is that? He's the king of almost sacks. He gets there, but he doesn't bring the guy down all the time. So he's getting pressures. He's moving the quarterback off the spot, which is awesome. He's just not bringing him down all the time. So I think that's why the value contract was a little bit lower because, some of these edge rushers are getting 40, 50 million a year, which is insane. He's getting 25 and he's 29 years old now. So he's not a young buck, but he fills a need and he's an elite locker room guy. Elite. One of the best locker room guys in this league. You guys are going to love him. He's going to fill a need. I compare him to Jalen Phillips. I think Jalen Phillips is a better pure pass rusher than Grenard, but Grenard's a better overall player because he's really good against the run, getting people off their spots, getting the back into the wrong lane to get tackled, all that good stuff. So you guys got a great player in that. And then we end up getting two third round picks. So the late third, the 98 overall, and then a third next year in that, coveted 2027 draft. So I just think there's a win-win on both sides. We save some cap space. We got two pretty valuable draft picks, at least this overall draft slot, two third round picks. You guys got a good pass rusher to help your defense this year and next couple years. So I think overall it was a great deal, win-win on both sides. But it was obvious this was already consummated because around pick 56, 57 in that range, everyone, all the news outlets were saying breaking news, trade, boom, 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 boom. Everyone at the same exact time. They had the tweet already loaded up. They're just waiting for that timestamp. They were told to hit send. So it was already talked through, already made
Well, I mean, and the other part too is I don't know if you knew this, but Jonathan Grenard was in Philadelphia getting a
at a
physical during
Sixers
all
game.
this.
I think he was at a Sixers game.
Right, he was confirmed, but he went
Yeah.
to Philadelphia to get a
Hmm.
physical. So he was already playing. He was already
Yep.
in there or in
Yep.
Philly on Saturday, as
Hmm.
or excuse me, on Friday, as day two's unfolding for the draft. So that just tells you where they were in the process.
Yep.
That there's a pretty good chance that Grenard was going to end up in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, yeah, I think the part that's interesting is I think we kind of were both wrong on the trade because you said a third round pick value, but with the comp pick, it's like so weird because it's like, is it really a third? Is it a fourth?
Sure.
I think you could
Yeah.
argue it both ways. And then my understanding is the third next year will most likely be our additional comp pick, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I'll have to. I don't know if you've heard.
I don't think you can trade comp picks that's not official yet. So to
That's
me, that's
true.
most likely the Eagles' third round pick. But still, Eagles are going to be at worst like second round of the playoffs, probably you would expect. So that's going to be like around pick 26, 27 in that range. So it's going to be a late third still. But
Yeah.
everyone's seeing the value of next year's draft is a little bit more expensive. So a late third next year could be like a high third in normal drafts. So it it kind of gives the value of a second round pick, and that's what we were looking for. Did we get a second round pick? No, but the Eagle side they were wanting to trade a fourth, and so you guys had to go a little above that. So you kind of met in the middle. So it was kind of even on both ends.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was good value both ways, but definitely liked the pick. I think it or the trade. I think it works out well for him.
Hmm.
Um, the part I was going to say that I really liked about the trade is the Eagles did what the Bengals failed to do. They held on to the rights of Grenard past the guaranteed money.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me was a disappointment for the Bengals. You don't just trade for Dexter Lawrence for one additional year of service. You should have made a bigger contract. Should have been a way to do that. Whether you give him
Hmm.
more guaranteed money in that year that they just
Hmm.
wanted the extension on, but I think it's important to hold on to the rights of the player if you can, because then you have the right to trade him.
Hmm.
And that is a really big plus for your team. Whereas the Bengals are probably just going to lose Dexter Lawrence in a couple of years from now. Maybe they franchise tag him or something, but those are not
Yeah.
ideal scenarios. That's not what you want. So I think for the Eagles, it's awesome they were able to get Bernard at $25 million a year value
Hmm.
and then have the right to hold on to him and trade him if and when it's determined that he needs to move on to another team. Because that's
Hmm.
how you get your value back. That's how you take care of yourself from a compensation standpoint as a team for trading for somebody. So I give the Eagles a lot of credit on that part. I think it was a good deal. I mean, Jalen Phillips went for what was it, 33 million a year? It
Something
was
insane. I think it was like 40, wasn't it? Like a 3 year, 120 million, something like that. Or was I
I feel
might
like
way
it
off
was a
on that?
little lower than that. But let's see here. 4 year 120. So it was a $30
Okay.
million per
Okay.
year average, but there's
Hmm.
$80 million guaranteed in the contract.
Gotcha. And then Will Anderson just
So
signed for 50 million a year, which is insane.
so it's expensive, man. And so I think for the
Hmm.
Eagles, this was very much so a welcomed adjustment.
Yeah.
It's far more favorable. So yeah, I like it. I'm good with it. I think it works out just fine. I will say, Max Clare, Rams. I like the pick. I think that that's kind of an underappreciated, has the potential to be something more. Although that is an interesting tight end room. I'm surprised how much
Hmm.
they've really devoted in terms of resources to the tight end position. But
Hmm.
Max Clare could be an awesome guy. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. They're big on that 12 personnel right now. Really big on it, which is one running back, two tight ends, two receivers, and it's been working really well for him. And so that made a lot of sense. And Minnesota might be kind of going the same way, which I'll get to that. But going to the third round, I think you are up first with that pick 68 with Markel Bell.
I thought you were going to talk about Carson Beck, how much you loved this pick and heir apparent in Arizona. No,
No, no, No, Arizona had one of the worst drafts in my. Like I said, NFC West was horrible this year, and you can't, like you said, you can't super discredit the Seahawks because they had limited capital and they picked last, and they had to kind of reach. When you pick last, you have to kind of reach, so you kind of give them a pass. But overall, NFC West had a terrible draft. It was bad.
I think it's hilarious that Carson Beck's um, pro comparison here on the ESPN website is Davis Mills. What a horrible comparison. If that's what you end up
hmm
becoming, that is not
hmm
good. Not good.
Yeah.
Um, but
And hey,
we'll
maybe
see.
we're all
Maybe
wrong. Maybe Carson Beck's going to be awesome. It possibly, but every scout and every draft and analyst is saying that he's not going to turn out. He'll probably be a backup. Which hey, backups are valuable. Can't discredit that.
they are, but you don't draft them in the third round.
Yes.
That's like a
Yes.
sacred rule. You do not
hmm
draft someone that's specifically playing backup role in the third round. No, you just
hmm
cannot do that. To the Eagles pick, they picked up a guy with a lot of upside and
Yeah.
ridiculously tall. 6'9", 346 pounds. Big, big, big dude. Um, Definitely a reach. Like I'm going to just acknowledge that right now. It's a reach. I think the Eagles were worried about the run on offensive linemen that they saw in the first two rounds. And so it made them
Yeah. It was
think,
crazy.
I should say the first round, really. Right? Because the offensive guard went in the second round, but really it was the first round. So I think they wanted to make sure they got their guy. I think
hmm
Marco Bell, the reason I'm okay with the pick is Lane Johnson's still starting. Jordan Mailata is still starting. Fred Johnson, the swing tackle, is still on the team. You can afford at this spot to take a high upside pick. You just took two picks that were very justifiable and easy to get the support of the
hmm
fan base on. I think this is a pick where you can really try to dig in your bag and think, okay, who's unnatural? That's the way that Jeff Stoutland
hmm
described these types of players, and I like that. Um, someone that can offer something that you don't have right now. And so I think there's potential. I'm not going to say it's going to work out the way we want it to, but um, we needed to um, address the offensive line position. I just,
Yeah.
my belief is the Eagles have been so good at drafting offensive linemen, and really they have been, right? Landon Dickerson, yes, he has had injuries and they've been disappointing, but overall has had a good career
hmm
and has met his value of being a second round pick. Cam Jurgens, while down year last year, showed value, and the reason why you should take him. Your process wasn't flawed for seeing that they could be something. It's not your fault if a player has injury issues, especially for Jurgens, who didn't have an injury issue history. Maybe a little bit of flack on the Dickerson front, I could see, but they drafted Lane Johnson, they drafted Jordan Mailata. Tyler Steen's been a serviceable guy. To me, in my mind, as an organization, there's just positions you draft better. You know how to draft them better.
hmm
And so
hmm
you don't mess around. You don't need to reach for players in the first round because you can trust your analysis of that group even later into the draft. You could not say the same thing for wide receiver for the Eagles. We have had zero luck in drafting wide receivers outside of the first round that have been successful. I just couldn't even tell you one.
Yeah.
Smith,
Even
and then we
sometimes
traded
inside
for
the
AJ
first
Brown.
round.
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally fair. But
hmm
if you know that you struggle as a team in scouting a position,
Sure.
you have to try to draft that earlier to make sure you still get your value.
hmm
Um, I'd say tight end hasn't worked out outside of early drafted tight ends, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. So I say all that to say you got to be smart with your picks. And then for offensive linemen, I think you're able to reach in the bag a little more and reach deeper because you've proven we can we can make this work. We can take chances on people that have talent and abilities that not every other prospect does. So it's definitely like a B type move, but it has the potential to turn into an A if Bell can pick up the offense and acclimate to the NFL quicker.
Yeah, and I'll get to my side later, but I see this as a eventual 1, 2 years away, whenever it is, replacement for Lane Johnson. That's 100% what it is. He's going to learn for a year or two, learn the game, refine his skills, and then when Lane Johnson's ready to call it, who knows how long it's going to be, 1, 2, 3 years, whatever it is, Bell's going to step right in and take over for right tackle. That's what that to me what this is like signifying big time because he's not going to play outside of injury. So you're going to develop him, get him ready to take over as your right tackle when Lane Johnson wants to call it a career. Because he's on the tail end, few years left. Few years of really good play left, but he's getting up there in age. He gets dinged up more often now than he used to because of how many snaps he's played. So to me, that's what that signified is, hey, you're going to take over for Johnson when he's ready, when he's done, and we're going to develop you until then. And that's just smart organization right there. Just replace your guys that are retiring with the next man up. Just like whenever Jurgens took over, I mean, it was almost flawless. It was seamless. It was like, boom, take right over for Kelsey. Easy, put him in, plays well. That's just what good organizations do. They have your replacement ready whenever you're getting up there in age. To me, that's what that signified.
Yeah, I think certainly has the potential to. I think to me, it's if he ends up being a swing tackle where he's not a true starter, but he's a good
Sure.
swing tackle, the pick is still justified. It's a little high, but it's justified. But with the potential to take over for Lynn Johnson.
Hmm.
So we'll just have to see where Bell's career ends up. But I didn't mind it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was your only third round pick, right? Since you traded your comp pick to Minnesota.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we had three third round picks, which is kind of crazy. And I loved it. Our first one at pick 82, we doubled down with just big, heavy D linemen, and we picked Dominic Orange, Big Citrus. I also love this pick. I was like, I was surprised, honestly. The Jake Galde pick, I wasn't like surprised with. At 82, I was like, okay, we got Caleb Banks, we got Galde. This has got to be a receiver. This has got to be wide receiver three, in which Ted Hurst went almost right after us. That's who we were eyeing. I thought that's who we were going to draft because we had him in for a 30 visit, all that. I was like, okay, is it going to be, wide receiver? Is it going to be running back? Because the running back run hadn't started yet. Mike Washington's still there, Emmett Johnson, Jonah Coleman, all these guys are still there. But then they turn on the card and it's Dominic Orange. I was like, oh, I kind of like that. It wasn't necessarily a need anymore, but they were going into this draft saying they're going to select the best player on their board at every time. And a lot of people had Dominic Orange as a late second round pick. Some people had him a third, but consistency was a little bit higher than 82, probably more like the 70s or 60s in that range. And he must have been the highest one on their board. And now our D line, ooh, Caleb Banks is healthy. We have Caleb Banks. We have Big Citrus. So Caleb Banks is going to rush the passer. Big Citrus is going to stop the run. And then we still have really good edge rushers, even though Grenard's gone. Dallas Turner's coming on board. He's great. We have Van Ginkel, who's awesome. And we have a Brian Flores, who could possibly be the best schemer in the league. He's definitely top five. I would put him at one. I know some people would argue, that's fair. You like your team's D coordinator, but Brian Flores is one of the best. And now he gets three picks right off the gate. Banks, Galde, and Orange. And I'm thinking, man, the defense was already like top six ish in a lot of different categories, and we're improving it. I like it. I really like it. Dominic Orange he's not going to be an every down player, I don't think, because the pass rush just isn't quite there, but run defense is elite. He is just going to occupy two O linemen, not be moved, and then the linebackers are going to hunt and take down the running back. It's going to be great. I cannot wait to see what B Flow does with the new toys he has. And Dominic Orange he's just going to be a lot of fun. He's going to be just that big guy out there that you can't move, and running backs aren't going to have any holes, and it's going to be fantastic. I think I like the Jake Allday pick overall the best. But this, I probably like more than Caleb Banks because I think this had higher value than Caleb Banks did. Caleb Banks is definitely a better player, don't get me wrong. But at 18, the value wasn't quite there. It wasn't necessarily a huge reach, in my opinion, but it wasn't like a value pick. This was a value pick, because Dominic Orange probably should have went a little higher. And to to help out our run defense, which just took a big dip last year. I mean, we were giving up like 120 something yards a game on the ground, and that's just not acceptable. We got to fix that, and that helped. That was probably because our D linemen that we picked up in free agency just weren't doing the job. Hargrave and Allen just weren't getting it done against the run. They're fine against the pass. They had some pass rush. They had some pressures. It was decent, but against the run, they were awful. So picking up Dominic Orange, solidifying that run defense, having Galladay out there hunting, and then Kalen Banks rushing the quarterback. I like it. I like it. I like what Brian Flores is going to do. I'm excited to see the different kind of, twists and turns he has in his scheme because it's changed every year. It truly has. The first year, it was bring everybody. The second year, it was kind of back and forth. The third year, we did the bailout thing where we had like 8 people on the line and then random people would bail out. I'm interested to see what he's going to do this year because he's changed it all the time. I love that pick at 82. Um, is there anyone you want to talk about before the Vikings' next pick at 97?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So at 97, this wasn't the pick that we got from you guys. But again, kind of like what you did with Markel Bell, Caleb Tiernan. He is a tackle that everyone thought was I don't want to say is a steal, but was great value that he should went earlier. I mean, the site I'm looking at right now said it was a 68, no, it was excuse me, a 30 spot savings on where we got him at 97. They had him graded at 67. And that's just the site I'm looking at now just to see the picks. But everyone consensusly thought this was a really good value, a player that shouldn't have been on the board. And it wasn't necessarily a position of need. It was just a really talented player. Let's just pick good players. And Tiernan, he's going to take over for Brian O'Neill. And I'm not going to say any kind of like reckless speculation or any seeing into the future kind of thing, but I'm just going to say I wouldn't be surprised if Brian O'Neill wasn't on the team this year. I'm not going to predict that, but there's some tea leaves I'm trying to read. And one is he has a huge cap hit and a very simple restructure candidate or extension candidate, easily done to save a ton of money this year, but pay him more in the next couple of years. We haven't done that. He's just been sitting there with this really bloated contract this year. Why? Why is that? Is it because we don't want to pay him the next couple of years because we're planning on replacing him with Caleb Tiernan? I don't know. I don't know. But it's an easy move, an easy lever to pull and just save like $9 million dollars in the cap and sign him for another 2 years. Could they still do that? Yes. He's a really good player. I love Brian O'Neill, but this is 100% his replacement for the future. 100%. And that could be sooner rather than later. And at pick 97, that's just, again, that's good process. Just you have a guy getting older, and Brian O'Neill, I think he's 30, about turned 31. So he's got a couple years left. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he's getting up there in age. You need to get his replacement ready. And that's what this pick was. And I loved it because they already, oh man, I forgot his name, but they already signed that swing tackle from the Bills this past in the offseason. Like they signed an offer sheet and the Bills didn't match it. So they already have their swing tackle. So they did need one. This is totally the replacement for Brian O'Neill in the future. And then right after that, at pick 98, we go with Jacoby Thomas, safety. And this was kind of a head scratcher, not big time, because Jacoby Thomas had one good year in his collegiate career. The rest of his collegiate career was kind of wasn't that great. But last year at Miami, with a really good defense, Ruben Jr., all these guys on that team, he had a good year. He was a ball hawk. He had like 5 picks, like 10 pass breakups. He was everywhere. He had a few sacks. Again, a great Brian Flores fit to where you could put him in multiple places on the defense, have him hunt. He's not necessarily the Harrison Smith replacement that everyone thought they were going to pick at pick 18 with the Inman. He's more of just another toy that Flores can just throw out there because he's a great blitzer and he's great with the ball in the air. And coverage, he still can be developed there. In the tackling, he still needs to be developed. But ball skills and blitzing, which is what Flores wants, he's great at. So I think this is just someone that's going to sprinkle in, play a little bit. I don't think he's going to be like, quote unquote, the starting safety, which makes me bring me back to believe that Harris Smith has come back. I think he's going to play again
Mhm.
because we didn't make any moves in safety until the late third round pick, which, like you said, is basically a fourth round pick. I and every time that he's asked, um, Kevin Collins like, yeah, I haven't spoke to him in a while. I need to call him up, see how he's doing. That's not fully true. I think they know what's going on. I think Harris Smith is coming back for one more year because he's having too much fun. Now, I'm not saying that he thinks that we're a Super Bowl caliber team. I think that'd be kind of crazy. But sign another 8, 9 mil a year deal, play football again, have some fun, enjoy the team, see if this team can make the playoffs kind of thing. I think that's what he's thinking, and I think he's coming back. He has too much fun, and that will just make our safety room pretty full and pretty good because we have some guys that not anyone's thinking of, like Jay Ward. Watch out for Jay Ward. I think he's going to be used a lot this year. We drafted him like 3 years ago, and he's been developing. He's looked good, but the Jacoby Thomas pick I thought was fine. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Like everyone thought it was a really bad reach pick. I just think it's a good scheme fit for Flores. Tiernan was awesome, but I thought that Jacoby Thomas was just let Flores have another toy, and he's getting a lot of toys in this draft in this offseason. He's going to have some fun. This defense could be scary. It could be scary. Everyone's thinking that Grenard trade is going to make this defense worse, which Grenard's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but Dallas Turner's ready. He's ready. Whenever Grenard was out last year, Dallas Turner had a ton of sacks. He ended up having the most sacks of the Vikings full roster last year, and he only started like 5 games because Grenard was a starter. When Grenard was out, Dallas Turner started, and he was awesome. So it just that's process. Your first round pick is ready to go. This is his third year. He needs to start. So
Yeah,
Thomas pick was fine. It was fine. It's just gonna be another little tool in the Flores belt. And we didn't have any fourth round picks. I don't know if you guys did because
we
he
didn't have
traded
any
both of
fourth
them
round
away.
picks either.
Okay. So we're going all the way down to the fifth round.
I did want to just mention in the fourth round, Jermon McCoy.
Sure.
I so interested to see
Oh
what's going to
yeah.
happen with him. Uh,
Yeah, for
I don't
sure.
know. It's tough to say, but so strange that he fell so far. But we'll
Hmm.
see. Um,
Yeah.
I did see that one of the people I followed at Boise State, Cage Casey, went from one Broncos team and is with another Broncos team.
Cage Case is awesome. I loved him in the draft process. He's just a baller.
So I'm excited to see what he's going to do in Denver. I think that's a really good pick for them. But yeah, that was
Hmm.
it. That was all I was going to mention for the fifth round. Just wanted to make those two notes real quick.
You mean the fourth round?
Oh, excuse me, fourth round. Yes.
Okay. So where did you guys pick in the fifth round? Am I up first?
I'm sure you're up first because we were 178. We were the tail end.
Okay. So I have two before you because that trade back that we had with the Panthers, we went from we traded basically a sixth round pick for a fifth round pick. That's basically what it was. We went from 190 to 163. So we were at 159 and 163. So, and both these picks were low key, interesting value type picks because of what Minnesota wants to do. So at 159, we select Max Bredesen, tight end slash fullback from Michigan. And just based off of value, it was a terrible pick, a super high reach, but there's context. Tight ends were being drafted so often in a third, fourth, and fifth round. They were flying
Hmm.
off the board. So they were all being lifted up as far as where you're going to draft them. You had to draft them earlier. Did Minnesota want to draft Bredesen at 159? Probably not. We probably want to get him in the sixth or something like that. But we had our eyes on him because CJ Ham retired and we needed a fullback. And Max Bredesen is the best, just straight up fullback in this draft. He's labeled as a tight end, but he's going to play fullback. He's going to basically be that H back kind of thing where he's going to be just lead blocking all day long. He is one of those guys that lives and breathes knocking your head off in the run game. He is awesome. He is so strong, hits so hard. He just gets so many lanes open. So J.J. McCarthy's last year at Michigan, Bredesen was there, and what was that guy? Oh, what's his name? The running back that the Rams have now that backs up. Oh man, I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head. But he played for Michigan and he had like 18 touchdowns that year.
Oh, I know who you're thinking of.
Blake Corum. Blake Corum.
Yes.
Um, and Bredesen was the lead blocker for all those touchdowns. So Bredesen is just a meat and potatoes fullback, you know, snot nose snarl, knock your head off. And I love the physicality that Minnesota is trying to show they're going to bring by hiring Frank Smith, who used fullbacks a lot with Miami and used a lot of different run schemes. And we didn't draft a wide receiver in this draft. We're still looking at wide receiver three, so we had meetings with Juan Jennings. We'll see how that goes. But man, the way that Minnesota drafted and is building this team looks like we're going to go heavy. We're going to beat you up physically, and I am absolutely for it. That is awesome. I don't know if Kevin O'Connell is going to be able to do it all the time, but that's the way this team's being built is physical with strength, with snot nosed, with just hit you in the mouth, and I love it. Do I think Max Bredesen was a value pick one for tonight? No. But as far as a scheme, a possible scheme fit, I loved it. I want to see 12 or maybe even like 13 personnel or 22 personnel with two tight ends and Bredesen as your other running back. That'd be great because Josh Oliver is the best blocking tight end in the game, or at least top five, depending on who you ask. And then Bredesen, probably the best blocking fullback in the game right now. At least that's what the projections are. We are just building a team of power, and I love it. And then at pick 163, this was a great value pick with Charles Demings. The only reason why he was here, he's got so much physical ability. Like his RAS score was up there. His combine was great. He's a really good athlete. Only reason why he was here is because he played at Stephen F. Austin. He didn't play against good competition. And so his numbers people thought were a little inflated, which is possible. It's very possible. It's possible he can't make it in this league. That's the reason why he's here in the fifth round. But he is also a Flores guy because he's got ball skills. He had interceptions and he had knockdowns. And he's great at blitzing and he's a great character guy. Like I heard his press conference when he was just being called over Zoom, and it was awesome. I'm a big fan of this kid. Is he going to pan out? It's hard to tell. He's a fifth round pick, fifth round corner. Maybe he'll get the snaps. Maybe it'll just be a depth piece. I don't see him starting this year because we have three good corners. He's probably going to be cornerback four, so he'll mix in some, but he won't get on the field a lot this year. This is more kind of for the future development guy, and that's what you do with your fifth, sixth, seventh round picks. You just replenish the roster for the future. And I think that's what this is. And it was a good value. Again, the site I'm looking at said this was a 29 pick value pick here. So I liked it. I'm a fan of it. Flores needed another corner because our corners were kind of weak as far as depth last year. So now our cornerback room is pretty set in stone. I like the pick at 163.
Mhm.
And
And then
then
for the Eagles at 178, right? Yep.
yes,
Let's see.
this was interesting.
The
This was interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this one. It's okay.
Hmm.
Um, this is not the quarterback I would have taken.
Hmm.
I think that I continue to hear Taysom Hill comparisons. And honestly, that makes me go, oh, because like I love for those that don't follow Eagles, Brandon Lee Gowden from Bleeding Green Nation is the there are some reporters that are tapped into understanding the team. There are some reporters that are tapped into understanding fan bases, and there are some reporters that are tapped into understanding players. And this one, Brandon Lee Gowden is tapped into understanding fan bases. He reflects the
Mm,
Eagles fan base so well. He understands them very well. He does a lot of polls on the website that are very effective at gauging where fans are at on moves. But he's so funny because he talks about Taysom Hill after this pick. And he's like, I remember when the Eagles would play the Saints and they would take Drew Brees off the field and put Taysom Hill out there. My first thought was, thanks for making it easier for us.
hmm.
And honestly, there's some truth there. It's a
Hmm.
bit of a head scratcher how much that team loved Taysom Hill, but we needed to draft a quarterback. The part I'm frustrated is Taylon Green exists. And just a
Hmm.
few picks later goes to the Browns.
Hmm.
I would never have put um, Cole Payton over Taylor Green. I'm one guy played for Arkansas. Like if you didn't like Boise State, right? Fine, whatever. But Arkansas is a legitimate school, and he looked pretty good. He wasn't amazing, but um, he definitely has to work on his arm. He's definitely got a weak arm like Peyton. The part I worry about is like, I just don't know what this guy's role is going to be. I don't know what we're thinking here. Maybe we can develop him. Maybe we'll see something happen that I'm not aware of. One part that was interesting was the Eagles got the former Texans QB coach. I can't remember his name right now. It's Gerard Johnson, and
Hmm.
he's supposed to be kind of an offensive coaching specialist. So I've heard
Okay.
maybe he's working in the background, and his role is going to be to help Jalen Hurts one, but two to help someone like Cole Payton become more of a true quarterback. So we'll see. I didn't love this pick. This was not one that I was like, oh yeah, this is exciting. I leave this feeling like, see,
Hmm.
I, I didn't think Tanner McKee was a good pick, but I've ended up falling in love with him as a player, and I think he's done a good job.
Yeah.
I've really liked the value we've gotten out of him. I just leery. I'm leery of this pick. I think the Browns did an awesome
Yeah.
job taking Green. I think that would have been if I'm going for a running threat, that's the guy I would have taken. But
Yeah.
maybe what it came down to is ceiling. Maybe they felt like Taylor Green's ceiling is more set, and they felt like that Cole
Mm.
Payton could actually grow, and so that's why they went with the potential since it's a fifth round pick.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked Cole Payton going in this draft. I thought he had potential. I just thought it was a round too early. If you guys grabbed in the sixth round, I'd be like, yep, perfect. That's awesome. Get him in the fifth. Like, he's a good player. I see
Uh-huh.
that you want to draft him, but I just kind of saw it maybe around too early, kind of thing. And I thought honestly Taylor Green was around too early. I thought both of them should have been sixth, but of course they're back into the fifth, so they're kind of sixth.
Well, Taylor was technically sixth, but just barely,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
just barely.
Hmm.
So yeah, but that's fair. It's all fair.
Um, okay, and the next pick. So after that fifth round pick that Minnesota made, we didn't have another pick till the seventh round. I was like, oh man, we didn't address a couple spots, but you can't address everything. But Minnesota makes a bold move. I kind of thought the value was a little bit too much as far as a trade. So we give up a seventh and a sixth next year. I didn't want to give up a sixth next year, but we did. And we moved back up into the sixth round. But the player we got was someone we had our eyes on the whole process. And a lot of Vikings fans and analysts were worried that we were going to overreach for him because he's a running back that is kind of one dimensional. He's really good in that one dimension, but he's kind of one dimensional. And we liked him so much, we thought, oh, please don't pick him with one of our third round picks. Please don't do it. And we didn't. We didn't even pick him with our fifth round picks. We traded back in the draft in the sixth round and got Damon Claiborne. So the spot where he drafted him is huge value because he's more of a mid fourth, early fifth in that round. And we got him back in at the sixth or early sixth actually. So, but we still really good value as far as where we selected them. I just wasn't a huge fan of the trade because we're giving up draft capital next year and we got rid of one of our sevenths. So we got two picks for one, so we lose a pick value kind of a thing. But the player himself in the slot, I was a huge fan of. So Demont Claiborne is one of the I don't know if he was the fastest in this draft class. If he wasn't the fastest, he was top two or three as far as 40 time. He's like a 4.3, 6.40 or something like that. He's extremely fast guy, great acceleration, great receiver, and he is really shifty and makes people miss really well. His problem though is he's smaller. I think he's like 5'10, something like that, 5'11, and not very heavy. So if anyone gets their hands on him, he's basically going down. So he's not really an in between the tackles savant. He's not a red zone threat. He is a third down back, just speed, quickness, get him on the outside kind of thing, which is really good combo to the running backs we have. Aaron Jones, I would say he's kind of like a smaller but faster Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones
Mhm.
can run in the middle. He can do that. He can bounce off tackles. but he's not as fast as Devon Claymore. Devon Claymore is faster, just can't break as many tackles. So I think he's going to be a really good balance as far as that goes. And I think this was totally a Frank Smith pick. There are people comparing him to a certain player, which I don't agree with because you can't compare a fifth round pick to a superstar. So when I say this name, I'm not saying this. This is what people are saying. They're saying he's kind of like an off-brand Devon Achane. I can't go there because Devon Achane is awesome. He is so good. Does Damon Claiborne have some Devon Achane tendencies and factors to him? I could maybe go there because of his speed and his elusiveness and his pass catching capabilities. But I can't compare him to Devon Achane because Achane is awesome. He's one of my favorite players. I was actually hoping we would trade for him, but the Dolphins said no, we're not trading Devon Achane. But Damon Claiborne overall, I really like the pick. He's going to be really good for our team. I don't think he's going to really play immediately. He might get in some third down packages, some like screen plays, maybe some certain like fancy play calls. We'll throw him out there. Or if there's an injury, which Aaron Jones, he gets injured a lot. So that's possible. And we don't have a lot behind him. I mean, I do like um I do like some of what we got there, but he's gonna make it above Xavier Thomas. That's not Thomas. Oh my God, I can't even remember our third string running back's name right now. That shows what we have right now. He's gonna be our third running back basically, but he's not gonna see the field much unless there's an injury, which Aaron Jones gets injured. So I like the pick. The value of the spot I thought was phenomenal. I just didn't like what we had to give up. I didn't want to give up next year's draft capital, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and we needed another running back. So I thought it was a really good pick. Just the value we gave up, I didn't fully love.
For the Eagles' sixth round pick, Micah Morris, the guard from Georgia. I think it's a fine pick.
Hmm.
When you're getting to this late in the draft, you're just grasping for straws. And it's
Sure.
really what you're doing
Yeah.
here. I did like the fact that he had just allowed one sack in his collegiate career.
Hmm.
And so I think that that shows some potential. We did need to address the guard position with the uncertainty we have with Tyler Steen and Landon Dickerson going in this year, just
Hmm.
how their health will be. So I'm good with that. I don't have much else to offer there. I did see Jack Kelly, the linebacker from BYU, went in this round, and that
Yeah.
was
Yeah. I saw that too. Hmm.
um, I'm excited to see what type of player he's going to be. Unfortunately, he went to the Giants. That's like the worst possible team, but that's
Hmm.
fine. But yeah, that's it for me. I think Morris is a fine player and interested to see what he'll be like.
Yeah, I think he'll be a good backup because, injuries happen all across the field all the time, and O-line depth is very important. So yeah, I like that. The last pick for Minnesota, I was super confused on because they must see something that no draft analyst or quote unquote draft expert or anyone who covers the draft sees because everyone saw this guy, Gavin Gerhardt, center from Cincinnati, as not draftable, like not even in their top 400 or 500 players. And we drafted him with pick 235. He was easily an undrafted free agent candidate, but I don't know. Maybe they saw something. This seemed to me like just a throwaway pick that they should have went elsewhere with this particular selection. Jeff Caldwell, I was screaming for the wide receiver from Cincinnati, the same school, because he was still on the board and he has potential in this league. I really like Jeff Caldwell. He's really good athletic, tall receiver, just raw. That's what you do in the seventh round. That's what you select. But we went with Gavin Gerhardt, a center that might not even make the team, honestly. So I I kind of hated this pick. This felt like a throwaway, not good selection, but maybe they see something that no one else sees. We'll see. But that was Minnesota's last pick, and I thought, oh, come on. I really enjoyed the draft until this pick. If they selected Jeff Caldwell, I would have said this was an amazing draft. I would have given like a B plus, A minus, and that's me being honest. With this, I'd probably give them overall a B or a B minus. A fine draft, still pretty solid, but this was a waste of a pick in my opinion. I have no idea what they're doing with that one. And that was Minnesota's last pick.
I think it's fine to take a chance in the seventh round. The Eagles drafted Cole Wisniewski. Don't have much information on him, and
Hmm.
he is a top 300 prospect. Well, 300 to four. So we'll see what he does. It's so hard to know with players that are drafted at the back end. Um,
Sure.
I, I think they're going to look at him more from a special team standpoint. I mean, he does have experience. He has started in his career. Um, and we'll see what tools he can offer. I've heard some Reed Blankenship comparisons. I'm going to hold off on that. That to me is
Hmm.
aggressive. Reed Blankenship is a
Hmm.
rare exception. The pick I am excited about is
Hmm.
Zuar Bernard. This seems like a really promising guy. Um,
Yeah.
to have a 4.6 uh 40-yard dash, um, but his length, his size,
Hmm.
he has no playing experience, so he's going to have a huge
Yeah.
learning curve. But
Hmm.
we've done this with Jordan Mailata. You can do
Exactly.
this, and it's you have to have the tools to be taught the right way to play football, and he has the tools.
Hmm.
So a seventh round pick, I think it's just fine. And this definitely factors into part of that equation from um, the Vikings. I think that it wasn't the Vikings pick, but I think it helped them by getting that seventh round pick back, opened up
Yeah.
this pick to
I think the
taking it.
244 was the pick, wasn't it? The
Yeah,
the
but I
Wisnowski
think
pick,
by
technically. Yeah.
I think by getting that pick, it just put them in a position where
Hmm.
we feel justified. We have additional ammo in the seventh. We can
Hmm.
go take this, uh, you know,
Yeah,
this
he's a ball of
chance.
clay. Yeah, he's a ball of clay. He's got every physical thing that you want in a D lineman. Like you said, he is a freak. He is a specimen. But again, no playing experience. So if you can develop him, this is going to be a stud in the NFL. But you're going to have to see if he has it. The one thing that he didn't show good in the combine was his lateral quickness, like his side to side. That was like one of the worst in the draft because he never played the game. He doesn't really know how to go side to side in lateral quickness. So if that can be developed, but his straight line is explosive and so fast. Minnesota was at his pro day, and I was hoping with one of our seventh round picks we were going to look at UR Bernard, but we traded one of them to go get the running back. But you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. And again, we had what was that pick that we just wasted? The 235. If we would have selected Bernard there, I'd be like, all right, sure. But we already drafted a 2D tackle, so we didn't need to draft a third one. But yeah, so I looked at him a lot during this pre-draft process, and I like a lot of tools he could bring. But again, like you said, very raw, never played the game. Can he learn it? We'll see. But that's what you do in the
Possible.
seventh round.
Yeah,
You take shots. You take dart throws,
yeah,
just like you said with Mailata. Draft him in the seventh round. Now he's your starting left tackle.
yeah. And then the last pick was Keyshawn James Newby. He's an edge from New Mexico. And again, same thing. It's so hard to know what to predict at this point,
Hmm.
especially with how late it is in the draft. I mean, sixth and seventh, and maybe even fifth round picks are fighting for roster spots.
Hmm.
The only ones guaranteed spots are really first through fourth, and that's even sometimes a maybe. So
Yeah.
um, overall, I think it's a fine draft. We'll see what's going to happen. I think it's interesting. The part that's interesting is the consensus around Lemon pick is not unified. Some people love the pick. Some people are like, yeah, this is not what I was wanting. I think the part of it's mixed. Some people
Hmm.
just want to live in denial that AJ Brown's not going to leave, and I think
Hmm.
that blinds their ability to be able to understand how necessary this
Yeah.
was, and that's understandable. No one wants to lose their star wide receiver, but um, at the end of the day, Howie Roseman has to prepare the team for the future. That's his job.
Yep. Yep.
So
And there's so many signs that Brown was getting traded whenever you guys signed or traded for like three receivers this offseason. You're like, okay, what's going on? And then when you draft Mekhi Lemon in the first round, that was like a nail in the coffin for AJ Brown Eagle career.
oh yeah, yeah. And it's just gonna be like that video you sent me of the Austin Powers thing about telling AJ
Oh.
Brown to get out of the room.
I thought that was hilarious. I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah, that was very accurate. So yeah, yeah. So we'll see what happens. I am going to be deeply disappointed if we traded for only a first round pick from 2028, though, when we trade AJ Brown. That would be
Mm,
deeply annoying. So hopefully that's not the case because we need more than that. You cannot get a first round pick 2 years from now and expect that to be the
Hmm.
justifiable price. That to me is, if that's the case, you got to get something else. If it's a second round pick next year, I'm not sure what it is, but and to me,
Hmm.
I think it'd be fair to make a second round pick next year because you are pushing out your value. Therefore, you need to pay more. But we'll
Hmm.
see. I don't know. So,
Yeah. We'll see what happens on June 1st, because that's probably about when it's going to go down.
yep.
And
Just
I mean,
over
the
here
Patriots
waiting,
did draft
Andrew.
into receivers, so it's a done deal. That deal's probably already written in. Just gonna make it official on June 1st. That's probably what it is. Just
Yeah.
like the Grenard trade was already a done deal. Let's just wait till in the second round to actually call it in, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's it for me, man. We covered a lot of ground. So,
Yeah, we went through
um,
all 7 rounds, mainly our teams, but we kind of highlighted some question marks or some good values for other teams. So this was great. This was a good deep dive.
yep. Yep.
And
Absolutely.
then coming up shortly, we'll do our division ranks like we did last year. You know, rank 1 through 4, who we think we're gonna win, get second, get third, get fourth, all that good stuff. It's gonna be really interesting because NFC East is looking really deep, and NFC North, I think overall got worse. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I think
Mm,
the overall division, the NFC North got worse. The overall division, NFC East got better. So,
mm.
but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to doing that. That'll be a good discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you guys for joining us in this episode of the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and we will see you next time.
We'll see everybody.